What would people take more seriously if it had a different name? Radiation burns, not sunburns. Star damage. Fanny packs. It could have been like utility pouch or hell. Even shitkeeper would be better than fanny pack. Edit. Holy hell y'all, I think I'm actually gonna rock one. I read a lot of your guys' responses and here's some solid names. Nutrut, Chaos Pouch, Koala, The Fotigo, and my personal favorite, the Douchebag. I'm contemplating getting one in sewing. It's a douchebag. Onto it. Thanks y'all. Thanks for the awards y'all. We call them bum bags in the UK. But that's also because fanny has a very different meaning here. Walkie-talkies. Edit. Why did this blow up? Speechy reachies. Ambly ramblies. Local vocals. Degloving sounds not too bad, but should be called skinned alive. Degloving is what I do after a sledding trip, and decoding and debooting into hatting. Then I climb up on the couch and drink Decoco. And go to Deb. Waterboarding. Sounds like a fun activity for a day at the lake, with family. Ah yes, drowning torture. I'm gonna go waterboarding in Guantanamo Bay. Broom rape. The crop failure that plant genus causes is highly overshadowed by that ridiculous name. Edit. I've never seen a single episode of 13 Reasons Why, and all the mentions of the show are both confusing and terrifying. Edit 2. I realize I worded the post really weirdly. Oops. Broom rape. Sounds fucking painful though. I'm assuming it isn't with the fun end. I don't think there is a fun end on a broom, monsieur. Corporate welfare, not bailouts. Fun fact, the government has made money on the bailout of the banks in '08. Lost $11.2 billion on the GM bailout. Cornhole. I have a hard time getting people to play. Call it a beanbag toss, or bago. It sounds a lot less dirty. Marijuana strains. Especially concerning medicine. People would take a name like Anoxipram much more seriously than Og Unicorn Blood Kush. Edit. For those asking, sorry but not a real strain. Thought it would be a good name for a strand while watching Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. 100% this. As a prescribed medicinal user myself, it's weird that my medicine is called Super Lemon Haze. Are you telling me that Alaskan Thunderfuck wouldn't have been a better name than aspirin? Wouldn't you rather go take some green crack than Valium? Doesn't Granddaddy Perp sound more medicinal than warfarin? If you ask me, Big Pharma needs to catch up to the weed industry. Due to Poe's law, I feel obligated to mention that this comment was sarcastic. Aspirin 5000 wouldn't have made nearly as good of a drag name. Borderline personality disorder sounds so mild. It isn't. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. And, a different kind of thanks to all the replies describing BPD as terrifying. Which isn't a fun way to think of oneself. Edit 2. I wasn't trying to say that terrifying isn't accurate. It absolutely is. It just isn't fun to think about the fact that I'm terrifying. Like you're right on the verge of having a personality. Sounds like you're on the verge of having a disorder. Like, oh, it's kind of a disorder but it's borderline. Instead it's like I'm on the verge of actually making friends but can't form meaningful connections. Unless I'm on meds. MSG should be called savory salt. You could call it organic seaweed extract and it'd fly off the shelves at Whole Foods. I work at a Japanese restaurant, and for the minds of the patrons we chose not to use any MSG. When people ask about it and I tell them all it is a seaweed extractive, though unused in our kitchens. Some people are really shocked. They've been fear-mongered away from it without actually knowing where it comes from. Edit. Thank you for your upvotes. I've never seen so many. Why yes, I am a semi-educated waitress. Depression. The name currently conflates an emotion and a completely separate mental illness. That's why when discussing it I say, clinical depression. Taserface. Ha 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 ja ha 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 ha. What made you look in the mirror and decide that Taserface was a cool name? Edit. Thank you kind stranger for the silver. My first award. Didn't some journalist go around asking people about the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare, and got different responses from people like they were two different things? Journalist: so what do you think of the ACA? Person 1: oh, it's great. I'm all for it. Journalist: and Obamacare? Person 1: fuck it. Fuck it to hell. You just summed up politics in a single sentence. Dental plaque: y'all MFers are good with leaving that shit on and in between your teeth for hours, days, and weeks on end. Guess what? That stuff is bacteria that ate your food, and possibly teeth, and grew into a community of their own poop. Dead and live bacteria, and leftover food. It's like wiping your ass after a good dump, but you're okay with leaving that shit clinging to your anus. Gross. So, I call it dental poo. That way my patients are more apt to brush and floss it off. TL. Doctor: you eat little pieces of shit for breakfast. Edit. Y'all making me proud. BRB. I gotta go brush my teeth. I'm not kidding. Gerrymandering, if we called it what it is, state corruption. Or whistleblowing, if you call it like anti-corruption or something. It's absolutely tragic to me that Snowden ruined his life trying to bring awareness to the people, only for most of America not to give a shit and for the government to double down on what he called them out for. The Patriot Act. I know. When I first heard the name it sounded like it was something great, then you read what it does. And damn, exactly why they named it that way. Rename evacuation zones to death zones. Hurricanes to kill storms. You know, I'd stay to prove how awesome I am. But I really don't want to be in the death zone of this kill storm, monsieur. It's just a name, like the Forbidden Zone, or the Zone of No Return. All the zones have names like that in the galaxy of terror. ADHD. People treat it like it's just about not paying attention and being hyper. It can be crippling. I really want it to be called something like attention regulation disorder. Attention deficit is wildly inaccurate. The name also makes it incredibly difficult to explain hyperfocus to people. You just did X activity for 6 hours straight. How do you have ADHD? Quote: well, that activity was my entire world for those 6 hours. I didn't hear, see or feel anything outside of that for those 6 hours. Nothing else existed to me. When I finally came out of the fugue state, I realized I was incredibly hungry, thirsty, physically uncomfortable, and I would piss myself if I didn't get to the toilet in the next 17 seconds, which is why I had to change my pants. This comment resonates with me so much. I've been there, and done that, so often. A lot of people don't understand just how much an ADHD person can buckle down and work. It just depends on if the task clicks. My record is 38 hours. 10 p.m. Friday noon Sunday. On an emergency project during South by Southwest. No sleep, no breaks other than water and power bars I was carrying with me. I know it's unhealthy, but I honestly didn't notice it at the time. I wasn't tired. I didn't slow down. I didn't mess anything up. But when I got a lift home, I know not to drive sleep deprived, even if I feel fine, and sat down. It only took about 20 minutes for me to crash so hard it made me puke. I slept through the next day, and woke up at 6 a.m. the day after. Spent the rest of the month on the best sleep schedule I've ever been on. 10:30 p.m. to 6 a.m. without alarms. But sometimes, it takes an emergency for anything to click. It's taken years for me to get my own brain under control enough to just slog through boring stuff that I have to do. But if someone calls me in a panic, and they need something in what I should tell them is an impossible time frame, I am on that like pigeons on a statue, which tells me my brain still has a lot of work left. Edit. And I just got my first gold because I'm replying to things on Reddit, instead of focusing on cleaning my shop like I'm supposed to. I love this site. Terms for concussions and their effects. When people talk about a boxer's chin getting worse, what they mean is that this person has incurred more brain damage, making it harder for him to take a punch. A boxer who is knocked out took a shot to the head that shut his brain down. He did not go to sleep. A person who's had their bell rung just got some brain damage, etc. Even silly movie stuff like a guy knocking out his friend to shut him up, and then the friend is okay a few scenes later. No, that person would likely be throwing up and stumbling around if that really happened. Even the term mild traumatic brain injury is slightly misleading. It's mild compared to moderate brain injury, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Source: am a hobbyist boxer currently recovering from a concussion, i.e. brain damage. Seriously, there was a period where I had 11 concussions in about 4 years. The doctor told me if I have another it'll be permanent damage and I'll never function right again. It's all permanent. I'm already not how I used to be. Concussions are serious. Bullying. Call it what it is, harassment and assault. No, you don't understand. It can't be assault or harassment if it's between kids. Half the things that happen at school, even at 10% its intensity outside of it, real world, would require to sue or even imprison someone. In high school, I had a girl that was stalking me after breaking up with my boyfriend, which was her best friend. She gave her entire group of friends my phone number and they all texted me death threats. They keyed my car, broke into my locker and stole everything, followed me home every day, threw things at me. When the school got involved and they found out who was behind it all, I had a meeting with the principal and was told I would be expelled if I pressed charges because of bad publicity. It was literally more important that the school's name wasn't tarnished than it was that I didn't get hurt. Morning sickness. It's not just in the morning. It's not just a generic sickness or slight nausea. It's potential months of what feels like a constant flu. It's not the puking that gets you. It's the near constant nausea. I think I'd rather give birth again than experience 6+ months of morning sickness. Asperger's. Edit. It has come to my attention that the term Asperger's is not used very much anymore and a good bit of doctors now call it ASD, autism spectrum disorder. But plenty of people joked about the name when it was more common and the media was reporting about it a lot. Edit number 2. Holy hell, this is blowing up fast, thanks kind strangers. That's why I usually just say I'm on the spectrum, which people then use to assume I'm LGBTQ. They don't use that in the UK anymore. Nor do they use high-functioning autistic or low-functioning autistic. Just straight autistic spectrum disorder. I don't like it because realistically high-functioning and low-functioning autistic have to be treated entirely differently, but I don't make the rules. Complex numbers. There's nothing about them that inherently makes them complex, but they were called that essentially because early mathematicians didn't like the Monsieur. Some people have suggested lateral numbers because they are closely tied to the ideal of rotation and translation. I personally think something like complete numbers because they are algebraically complete would be cool. Imaginary numbers also seems a lot more whimsical before you actually get to it in math class. Distracted driving. You're behind the wheel of 3,000 pounds machine and doing stuff like texting while driving isn't taken as seriously as it should be by many people. Texting kills more people than terrorists, monsieur, but it can't be that bad because I do it and I am awesome. Urinal cakes. They should be called piss deodorant. Biscuits. Anxiety attacks. People that have never experienced them don't know just how terrifying and debilitating they are. I had a panic attack exactly once. I no longer take people seriously when they claim they had a panic attack, and their anecdote continues with them being able to do anything. I lost probably an hour and a half of time and called into work. Edit. I'm not talking about people who had different panic attack experiences than I did. The people I doubt are people like Becky, the generic office drama peddler who totally had a literal panic attack when Trish from accounting said her shoes looked tacky in front of Billiam from the mailroom, who everyone knows Becky saw first as she hates Trish. Like God, she hates Trish. I didn't know what to do for a few minutes and I got frustrated. Is not a panic attack. Panic attacks are when you're hunched over on the floor, stuck in an extreme version of fight or flight. But you can't pick one, so you're just unable to move. And there's no logic behind it. Nothing is wrong or needs to be fixed. You just have to wait for it to pass. Edit. Obviously the symptoms will be different for each individual. I was just illustrating how severe real panic attacks can be. Yes. Please remember though that panic attacks can look like a variety of things. Some people, for example, do not hunch over on the floor, but instead hyperventilate while standing or cry while unable to move. Panic attacks are not one homogeneous experience for everyone. Edit. Holy crap. Thank you, kind stranger, for the silver and gold. I am not worthy. Yeah, there's some weird gatekeeping over panic attacks going on here. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.